Hello and welcome to the lab. Today I will be processing silver from my gold refining. This is a Buckner funnel I use for filtering. I'm going to put it together and do a quick inspection before we begin our filtration. Scoop that up. The method I'll be using to refine the silver is going to be the sugar and lye method. I use this method primarily because it's quick, it's fast, it's cheap, it's easy. Looks good. This one spot always tricks me. And I can generally go from sterling silver to pure silver in about 2 days. Now we just need to remove all the sterling silver from one jar to the next. There we go. Now I'll set up for the filtration. I have been toying with the idea of starting up a silver cell. You guys give me your thoughts in the comments below. For today's filtration, I'll be using a number 1 medium. My vac pump will be set to half. Wet to seal. Pour slow to reduce splash and the filter paper from shifting around. Rinse the tip, catch the drip. Rinse the tip, catch the drip. Trying to run what's in the bottom of this beaker would take a long time, so we'll just save it for next time. Now I can recover my beaker. No way am I going to try and pass that through the filter again. Give me a minute to swap out and set up a new filter and paper. This time we'll go with number 2 slow. Wet to seal. Vac pump set at half. Once the other filter paper stops dripping into the beaker, I'll put it with the other filter papers in storage. Now the first pass has our filter nice and loaded up, so we can then pass it through again. It will now catch even smaller particulate matter. This is just making sure our filter is sealed. These pores are slow so you don't shift the filter paper. Now that filtration is done, we can set this aside and get our filter. This is our first filter. Off camera, I poured any liquid in the filter and in the beaker into the Sterling beaker so the filter would dry faster. It wasn't clogged up too terrible, but it was bad enough. Now we can move the funnel to the beaker and get our filter. Gonna adjust the angle real quick. That's a better look at the filter. Now if only I could open this bag. There we go. Now I'll get set up for a precipitation. I'll be precipitating out the silver with hydrochloric acid as silver chloride. First, I'll have to transfer it into a larger beaker to work with it. All further reactions will be done in this one beaker. This is hydrochloric acid or muriatic acid, both are the same. The white precipitant coming out of the solution is silver chloride. Once I get this stirred in, we'll check it to see if I got it all. The way I check is to add more hydrochloric acid. If you get more precipitant, you need to add more. If you don't, you're done. I can still see a touch of green, so I'm trying to stir that in, but I think it just means we got it all. Let's see if we got it. Looks like I got it all. I'm going to give it a thorough mix here to fully incorporate the hydrochloric acid. Distilled water mist to break the surface tension. Now I have to rinse all the blue liquid off of the silver chloride. And we'll begin with a decant. This is just distilled water to help any floaters sink and break surface tension. I'm going to go ahead and recover this for the first rinse. The first rinse of many. I used to use an immersion blender, but they kept breaking, so I stir now by hand, and it works just as well. Just to look at what I've caught thus far. Go ahead and recover this. To get everything to settle out right and not pour over, I shimmy everything to one side and then lean it to settle. It looks clear. Time to test to ensure all the copper nitrate is removed along with any other base metals. I will test with clear ammonia. If there is any copper nitrate present, even a trace, it will turn the solution blue. Here's the ammonia I'll be using. See, when this happens, I have to test the test to ensure accuracy. Not often when I do my first test does it come clear like this. I'll use the waste solution to ensure the ammonia is still good. Yeah, it's still clear. This is the waste solution we already poured off. This should react with the ammonia and make a bright blue color. Is my ammonia still good? Definitely still good. It's important to note you shouldn't mix anything with ammonia into your waste solutions. It should be handled separately. Not that I don't trust the test, but I'm going to do a few more rinses before I call it good and do one more test. Pretty sure I got it all, but we'll do one more test to make sure. That's clear. Just going to double up on the ammonia to double the sensitivity. Yeah, that's clear. Why not? We'll go ahead and triple the sensitivity. Yeah, if there was any traces of any copper nitrate in there, it would have turned blue. We're all good. Just a drop of ammonia is highly sensitive enough to detect any copper nitrate, so we've done our due diligence here. I think this is where I'm going to clean up, and I'll see y'all in the morning. Good morning. Today I'll be converting the silver chloride to silver oxide with lye. This reaction is exothermic. Keeping your eye on the temperature is advised from this point forward. Need to add this in small batches, mix and repeat until the powder in the bottom is jet black. You do have to watch for clumps. You don't want this splashing. This solution does get hot and does etch glass. The best advice for your glass is to keep it wet and well rinsed. Once you have it well mixed, add a few more spoons of lye, also known as sodium hydroxide. The temps seem to rise really fast on that addition, so I'm giving it a minute to cool off. A couple of more spoons. More mixing. More sodium hydroxide. More stirring. More sodium hydroxide. I keep adding in doses like this until it hits jet black. The dosage amount depends on my heat management. I try to manage the heat and keep it to between 50 and 70 C. If it gets too hot, I let it cool before I add the next dose. Always check your temperatures before adding more. It is getting close. That is exactly what you don't want to do. Lye can etch glass. Best thing to do is rinse it off. Still looking a bit gray. I like to keep things nice and rinsed down when I'm working with lye. Couple of more spoonfuls. Still needs more, a couple of more spoons. But I think we're close. It's looking very black. Almost there. This dose, maybe one more, and we'll have it. I think I've actually got it, but I'm going to do one more dose after this to make sure. Last dose. It's done. This is just the double tap. Once we get this all mixed up, we'll move on to sugar. Sugar. Yes, that is a wonton soup container. For those of you following along at home, this is the part where you need to be very careful with your temperatures. It will boil over, it will come out of this beaker, it can hurt you. Best advice, go slow. This is one of my favorite parts of the process. If you watch carefully, you will see the silver mirroring on the side of the beaker. I think it's called a Tolling's test. There it is. That's the mirroring. As I continue, the mirroring will get heavier. It also sticks to the glass rod. You don't have to worry about scraping the silver off the side of the beaker. As you continue to stir and more silver is converted, it will naturally dislodge from the sides through the stirring action. This is actually pretty heavy mirroring, pretty impressive. Now you can see just how reflective it really is. Also a good idea to have ice cubes or cold water on hand, just in case things get too hot or out of hand. At this point, the silver mirroring begins to fall off. What I watch for to tell me I'm done is the temperature. When adding sugar no longer raises the temperature, you're done. Just wanted to say hi. However, this is not a mirror, and I should have written this normal, not reversed. We are getting close. That gray powder you see building up on the bottom, that's our silver. The effect of the sugar is starting to wane. It's no longer producing as much heat as it was. Still a little heat, but not as much. I'll also start adding in more sugar than I've been putting in before, trying to induce a reaction out of it. Oh yeah, we're down in the 50s now. We're almost done. Again, I'm going to put in a lot of sugar to try and get any reaction I can or any heat I can out of it. It's done, but if you know me, one more for good measure. Sugar won't hurt, and it's cheap. That's done. Definitely done. No temperature increase, and actually the temperature is falling, so. Now to begin my absolute most favorite thing in the world, rinses. Well, once this thing cools down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up, making some room for the rinses. Let the fun begin, and we begin with a decant. I'll rinse until I reach a neutral pH of 7. You're going to want to keep things moist and rinse down because lye will etch glass. All stir rods have a more rounded end. Make sure you use the rounded end. I guess I should say the rounded end goes in the solution you're stirring. Be sure to keep the sides rinsed down. In between rinsing and stirring and before the pour, you need to let it settle so you don't pour off any silver particles that are suspended in solution. To allow it to settle the best, I use the lean. This will allow it to settle and minimize movement from the pour. I shimmy everything to one side and then lean it and allow it to settle. Don't forget about the floaters. The cleaner it gets as the rinsing progresses, the more it will want to suspend in solution and float. It's going to be way too soon, but this is just a baseline, so I can see where I'm at. Base. It's up there. Pour off beaker's doing his job. Well, I think after this rinse, I'm going to hit the rack and get some sleep. We'll pick this up tomorrow. Catch you in the morning. Good morning. Ow. All right, let's set up and do some rinses. The double lean. It's not really necessary, but useful if required. Let's get a pH test and see where we're at. Well, that's surprisingly close. A lot further along than I thought. That looks like an 8. Let me see if I can get it in better light. Yep, that's an 8. Let's see what we got. Still looks a bit green. Still just a shade green. Time for another test. That's pretty close to 7. I'll just do a few more rinses and then we'll go digital. I want to make sure it's near neutral so it doesn't mess up my tester. After lunch, I'll test with the digital pH meter. Good morning all once again. I don't really remember where I was in this process, so I'm going to do a few rinses and then test and see where I'm at. Just give me a moment and I'll get all set up. One more pH test before I go digital. Grab a baseline with distilled water. That's what we're looking for. I think that's done. Digital pH meter. Grab a baseline. This is just distilled water. As you can see, the distilled water is slightly acidic. Now we'll test our rinse water. I'd say we're all kinds of good. All right, we'll do one last recovery. Now we'll plop our prize into our drying dish. Shimmy all this to one side, and I'll remove the bulk water. Now to remove the bulk water. Get it turned around so I have clear access to the clear water. All done. Here's a good look at our prize. Off to the drying oven. Oven set to 140 to evap any remaining water. A little while later, still evaporating. As you can see, there's a lot of condensation built up on the glass. That means it's still evaporating. I don't see any more condensation. I think we're done. Dried atomized silver powder. Just going to let this cool down a bit before I try to handle it. Join me on the next video where I test drive my new lens and melt this into shot. I'd like to thank everybody for watching.